Other questions? Ms. Goldrich.
Back to athletics. Is that are these 10-month appointments?
They go more than 10 months because you have to start these fall sports in August.
So they would be 11-month appointments, ish.
Yeah.
And is it still the practice or policy that there's an administrator at every sporting event?
There is, and right now Mr. Phelps is the administrator and he does attend all of that, so that's another negotiation with the administrators union because an assistant principal or a principal would have to be at each event.
So if we don't have, and so these teachers, teacher position, athletic director / teacher, they would still have to be, since they're not going to be in the administrators union, there still have to be some other administrator.
Correct.
At every event. Thank you.
I recognize Mr. Kemp, and then I'll recognize
Dr. Conway, trying to understand, I think you said it a moment ago, but let me see if I understand it correctly. The coordinator of out-of-district personnel .5 would in fact be the same person as the individual filling the .5 seat?
Very possibly, correct. There are 4 positions that I would say are .5 positions.
Right.
And so there are 2 full-time people who would be displaced under this plan. So each of them would get 2 of those halves.
Well, that's important because to me, maybe to others, because when you ask us for .5 at 57,000, it wouldn't take a lot for that to grow into a 1.0 FTE. And 2 years from now, I can see the recommendations before us. If we were to create 4 of these .5 positions, I would fear that suddenly there'd be a case made to go to 1.0 on each of them, and then we would have increased our administrative salary load substantially. So if these people are going to, if I'm going to vote for this, it's with the understanding that in fact, .5 is going to be the same person for that as the seat.
That's my plan right now.
Right now. That's my plan for a long time. But seriously, and it's pretty much the same thing with some of these other point positions. To what extent it would be the same person versus expansion into a 1.0.
You still have a comment?
Can I ask about the, let's drill into the need for a out-of-district placement person. Could you talk about that and elaborate the need for that?
Right now, our director of pupil personnel is Patty Buell. Patty does all the out-of-district placements right now. That includes our 64 students who are outplaced, and so those are multiple PPTs throughout the year, all over the state and beyond. In addition, we must attend in some way every PPT and Section 504 meeting under ADA for every magnet school or charter school student we have who is one of our, comes from Vernon. So that adds quite a few more to that. And so on any given day, you will hear Mrs. Buell say, I'm off to this place, that place, and the other place to conduct PPTs all over the place. And so if we were going to expand that role, we need to take something off that plate. And that seemed like a clean thing to take off the plate. It's not something that the director has to do. It can be another administrator who is trained to do that.
You still have the floor, Mr. Kemp.
You didn't mean to say every magnet school student, you meant...
Who is identified under IDEA and, right.
Right now, we've mushroomed up to 64 outplacements, but we didn't have that last year. And we might not have it next year. And so if it went back down to more consistent number than we're used to, it would be back down into the 30 and 40 range. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, would that position be justifiable if it were back down to the 30 and 40?
We'd have to see about that. Right now, when you add all the magnet school, IDEA students and 504 students, it's quite a few. Keep that person very busy.
So Ms. Fisher, you had a follow-up?
Uh,
And then Ms.
Well, you were talking about an administrator being at the athletic events. I don't know how Mr. Phelps gets to events when they're at the same time. How does that work?
He goes to the more high-profile events. He can answer that better. I think he's here, actually. I saw him earlier. But he can certainly answer that better. But I think it's the more high-profile events where you're going to have a lot of spectators and where you might need an administrative presence. So he goes to evening basketball games, certainly football games, hockey games, games that we're going to have a good attendance.
Now I have some questions about the department heads, department facilitators, subject leaders. Elaborate on that.
What I'm trying to do here is to flatten the hierarchy and move the work closer to the teachers, which is where it needs to be. Teachers need to be working on curriculum, which they do, certainly, always. But these are the things that need to be happening. We need to create teacher leader positions. This is another part of our commissioner's theory of action, that teachers need to be leaders. The teacher coaches are more or less leaders and coaches at the same time, but they come out of the teaching ranks. And so we need to use these department heads that we have, department facilitators that we have, and we actually have some subject leader people as well right now at the high school, and use them as leaders in curriculum, in changing practice, improving practice. We need to engage them in the work. It shouldn't be done to them. Teachers should be engaged in the work and doing this work. That's truly where all the expertise is, right there at the teacher level. And so that's what those positions are all about.
Now, this $11,000 you have here, that's going to cover all subject leaders at all the elementaries?
That is, I was looking for just 4 across I'd love 4 in every school, but 4 across the district. So 1 in mathematics, 1 in science, 1 in social studies, 1 in English language arts or reading language arts.
So how would they have time to travel to the other schools?
That would be a stipend position. So some of that would be done on professional development days, organization after school, making sure that assessments are ready, release time to go into each other's classrooms to look at practice and share practice and new ideas, things like that.
Ms. Sermon.
I don't understand, Dr. Conway, all of the shifting around and all. It still leaves me wondering who's doing what, like the halftime coordinator of world and second languages. What's the other half of the job?
It is a half-time job right now.
So that would not change?
No, it would become a department head. The person who has that job is the .5 assessment coordinator and .5 world language. That's what that job is right now.
Right now.
Yes.
So are you suggesting a change or not?
Yes, to a department head. Did I put that in?
Okay.
Okay.
So that person would now be teaching and would get a stipend for being head of department.
That the department head would now be a teacher, not that person. That person is an administrator.
That's confusing to me. What are you trying to accomplish with this? What's the bottom
By
line?
flattening the hierarchy and creating teacher leader positions.
Is there this model someplace else that you're familiar with?
I've talked to probably 20, 30 districts in trying to figure out how to flatten the hierarchy. There are some districts that just eliminate the middle level management, so there would be no coordinators. There are some that have 1 or 2 coordinators, generally math, science, English language arts. We have those 2 positions. I'm not recommending that those be changed. So there are a lot of different scenarios.
I would just say too that I don't like the idea of adding a one-year position because those have a way of becoming necessary, and I don't feel too cool about that. With all due respect, it just feels like a lot of smoke and mirrors, and maybe that's just me because I'm not getting it. I don't see the advantage. It doesn't seem flattening, but spreading out, and the dollars are not an advantage. There's lots left to be negotiated. I'm just not. This is better than the picture, but for me, it's not enough of a narrative. I don't understand enough about how it's going to play out to be comfortable just supporting it, just supporting all of these changes. I'm not. I always wondered why we didn't just have a human resources person. Why that's not an option. You told us all along that Patty does too much. Why not just remove that? And I have never heard any discussion about it. I guess I don't understand the advantage to what you've proposed to just feel comfortable saying yes.
Mr. Person.
Question for Dr. Conway. If you eliminate positions in the administrative union, I mean, you're adding some, taking some away. Is that an issue? Is that
The number is equal to we're taking some away and adding some. Right now we have actually 4 people in positions. 2 of them are retired. And so each year that we ask them to come back, we have to go through the State Department, prove that we need the position, et cetera. So those 2 people would not be working for us next year. The other 2 people, however, there are those 2 people now, and there are 2 full-time positions, 4 half-time positions.
so we'd end up with the same number, so there's not going to be a
Correct. It would be just the assignments and what those are and who's doing what work.
Gotcha.
Ms. Fisher.
I just want to say in response to what Mrs. Arn had said, I didn't understand this coming into tonight completely, but I think at least you swayed me a little bit more in that the fact that you are bringing more of it down to the teachers who are the ones who have to implement changes. And so to me, it makes sense that they are part of figuring out the changes, like the subject leaders that work with other teachers. So I do think that's better to involve the teachers as opposed to an administrator saying you have to do this. They're part of the process.
Ms. Goldrich.
Let's go back to the coordinator of world and second languages. Currently, that is a half-time position, the other half-time being coordinator of assessment. Correct. If that position goes to full-time world language department head, who will be doing the coordinator of assessment, or will you be hiring for that position or reassigning it to someone else?
No, right now someone is doing that 0.5 assessment position, and that person would be picking up one of the other 0.5 positions. And department head is a stipended position for teachers.
So the person who is doing, we have one person who is the coordinator for world and second languages and coordinator of assessment.
Correct.
Currently.
Correct.
So if that person chooses to go be the world language department head.
That's a teaching position.
1.0.
That's a stipend position. That's a teaching position. Someone's a teacher and does that
Okay.
in addition to their teaching.
Does the 0.5.
Is department head.
Okay. So you'll be hiring to cover the assessment position.
No, we have 2 people and we have 4 half-time positions, which are 2 full-time positions, and we have 2 people. So we have enough bodies and enough work to even it off.